Let me give you peace, Master Yaddle. Our time has come. For 300 years, we prepared. We grew stronger. While you rested in your cradle of power, believing your people were safe and protected. You were trusted to lead the Republic, but you were deceived. As our powers of the dark side have blinded you. You assumed no force could challenge you. And now, finally, we have returned. Deceived. And now your republic shall fall.
Count Dooku and Darth Malgus, two of the most legendary Sith Lords to ever be abducted into the Order, with Count Dooku coming around roughly 4,000 years before Malgus was death. Malgus was an exceptionally powerful Sith Lord, specializing in lightsaber combat. Malgus was a Sith warrior through and through, as well as Dooku, a noble Serenian noble who had had a 6-decade tenure as a Jedi Master, and then joined the Sith for over a decade, studying under the tutelage of Darth Sidious, one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time, and aspiring to become the new public force and main public eye in the new galactic empire, being granted a role as prestigious and honorable as the newly christened Darth Vader. However, neither of these men got to experience their goals, while Darth Malgus wanted to achieve the rank of Sith Emperor, after he believed Vitiate had been killed by supposedly the hero of Tython during his millennia-long life. And Dooku wanted and aspired to become the head of the most powerful force in the galaxy and the reigning Dark Lord of the Sith. Neither man ever achieved their goals, with Malgus being named the False Emperor and Dooku being decapitated by Anakin Skywalker aboard the Invisible Hand before the concept of the Galactic Empire was even a dream to him. So, which one of these historical, powerful, and exceptionally skilled lightsaber duelists are the most powerful? Which one has staked their claim as the most powerful? And which one came closer to achieving their goals? Yes, my friends, welcome back to a new episode of our Versus series. This is Darth Malgus versus Count Dooku. A warning, there will be no hate in the comment section based on opinions. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I am sure there are a multitude of people who will think that my answer is incorrect for varying reasons. This is just my perspective on things. And also, one of the rules and regulations is that we'll be only focusing on their powers and not how compelling their character arc is or how good of a character they will be. As I'm sure if you have stuck around on this channel, you definitely know who would win. Now, my friends, let us proceed. Let's start chronologically and emerge with Darth Malgus. Beginning with his lightsaber training, Malgus was hailed as the hero of Tython. The hero of Tython, widely regarded as the greatest Jedi of his age and prophesied to defeat the Sith Emperor by Lord Scourge, the Emperor's Wrath, who was granted immortality alongside the Emperor, sharing in his immense power. The hero of Tython stated that Malgus' lightsaber form was flawless, with Malgus specializing in an overly extensively strong Degem-So, the most athletically taxing and the most demanding lightsaber form, even more than Ataru. With Ataru you just had to be quick, but with Degem-So you had to be quick and strong. Malgus was an exceptionally talented duelist and among, or possibly even topping, the greatest lightsaber duelist of his entire age. And it was once stated and inscribed into ancient documents that Malgus once defeated Revan. That's right, my friends, the Revan himself, aboard a space station once during his crusade. He specialized in utilizing rage and brute strength to defeat his opponents. Aside from his overwhelming physical stature and strength, which he implemented and served him well not only in lightsaber duels, but also hand-to-hand combat, like when he employed it in the duel with Jace Malcolm during the Siege of Alderaan. Malgus also often performed acrobatics akin to Ataru, employing some elements of Ataru into his fighting style to increase his effectiveness in lightsaber combat. His speed was such that a normal human found it difficult to watch his movements in duels. A ferocious and terrifying Sith warrior with a horrific, nigh unopposed reputation, Darth Malgus relished engaging in combat on the front line, and specialized, like General Grievous and Darth Vader, in taking down Jedi. He was personally responsible for the deaths of 7 highly decorated and skilled Jedi Masters, such as Cal Kandaraj, the Jedi Battle Master at the time, and also Ven Zallo, who was a Jedi Master and widely considered Malgus' most famous kill. Malgus was shown to employ Jar Kai in various situations and mastering it, such as during the retaking of Korriban, where we first saw him in the Old Republic game, where he employed this tactic and style to kill the Jedi Battle Master Cal Kandaraj, despite the latter's mastery in the same fighting style. And recent victory and impaling Malgus' own Sith Master Darth Vindican. Malgus' strength, rage, and clear focus in a lightsaber duel gave him an utter advantage that allowed him to brutalize opponents into submission, allowing him to swiftly deprive Cal of one of his lightsabers and finally save the Zabrak Jedi Master. Years later, during the sacking of Coruscant, widely regarded to be Malgus' most famous and highly decorated campaign, also marking the beginning of his disillusionment with the Sith Order, Malgus was able to fight against Ven Zallo and impale him in a short but ferocious duel. Zalo was often regarded as his most famous kill. Another brief example of this was shown during his fight against Padawan Sahar Katin, where Malgus utilized Jarkai after taking her master Denlam Or's lightsaber, after slicing the latter through the chest. Even as he got older and began to get into his 60s and 70s, Malgus still remained a fierce duelist that managed to fight against both masters and Padawans. Malgus's Djemso tactic was such he was considered on par with Darth Bane. Darth Bane was widely considered to be the greatest specializer of the form ever, and among the greatest Sith swordmasters in Sith history. Malgus was a master at force augmentation, very similar to Darth Sidious, as Malgus utilized his pure rage, the force rage allowing him to bolster an aspect of his physical traits in order to overpower many Jedi in a lightsaber duel. Another example of this was he was able to successfully take over the Sith Empire after the supposed death of Emperor Vitiate, the emperor that Malgus adhered to so strictly. Malgus was able to duel Venzalo's former Padawan and come out on top. However, he did allow her to live due to the fact she allowed his lover, whose name is a Twi'lek slave, who conveniently was one of Malgus's slaves. Her name was Alina Daru, and due to the fact that she allowed her to live, Malgus decided it'd be best as a show of gratitude to let her go. Now, let's move on to Malgus's Force talents. Veridon's adoptive father, who was a biologist in Star Wars, stated that his instructors tell that they've seen few with his potential in the Force. Due to this quote alone, we can assume Malgus's Force capabilities were beyond the average Sith, with the average Sith being roughly having 10,000 midichlorians. I deduced Malgus roughly had 16,000. And Malgus utilized a variety and plethora of Force powers during the sacking of Coruscant to defeat a multitude of many Jedi and Republic soldiers who had the audacity to stand in his path, including Saber Throw, guiding it with telekinesis to impale multiple enemies, Force Push, Choke, Jump, Speed, and Lightning, using lightning in order to tear through 2 Padawans and 1 Jedi Knight. Malgus utilized his emotions, such as anger and distaste of others, to fuel his power of the dark side, and demonstrated the skill and power to handle multiple opponents simultaneously with little to no effort, proving his superiority to Sith Lord Darth, his political rival. In one instance, Malgus unleashed a powerful torrent of Force lightning and killed 3 Jedi with it, incinerating their flesh. Malgus himself could tolerate Force lightning to a ridiculous extent. During his duel with Lord Darth, Malgus strode through the barrage of Force lightning from his opponent, using his lightsaber and fingers as a conduit, utilizing Tutaminis and redirecting it back towards his opponent to fling him from his feet. He perfected his application of Force lightning to such a degree, he was considered to be the second most powerful practitioner of the ability at the time, tied with Darth Revan, and considered to be inferior, however likely superior, with Vitiate. Vitiate considered to be the most powerful practitioner alongside Sidious in all of history. He perfected his application of lightning to a degree from which he could unleash a Force Maelstrom, which he demonstrated during the Battle of Lag Moon, a perfect application of Tutaminis when fired at either the Void Hound, Meteor, Hunter, or Cypher 9, absorbing the blaster fire with one hand. Force Maelstrom was utilizing telekinesis, shield bubble, levitation, and also the Force lightning ability itself, with Malgus generating a bubble, then rotating multiple enemies with telekinesis before unleashing a swirling storm of lightning from his hands to incinerate them. Malgus also performed Force screens to make his hatred apparent to those opponents, as well as destroy enemy fighters within his rage, blocking out eardrums and shattering columns. During his raid of the Jedi Temple, Malgus unleashed power with the expression of rage, which shattered a nearby column of a wall and sent a shower of stone shards throughout the room, when his friend Alina Daru was struck down by the most powerful opponent in the region, Zalo, who Malgus considered the only one worth his attention. Malgus used this ability once again during his raid of the resting place of Darth, making his extreme hatred for him clearly visible by leaving a trail of destruction around him with it during his advance towards his powerful Sith rival. Malgus often implemented the Force Speed ability to augment his physical acrobatics. When Malgus engaged Jedi Knight Aaron Lena in a duel, an observer attempted to watch them but could not properly deduce and see their movements because of their immense Force-augmented speed. Later on, Malgus used his ability once again while he was rushing towards the hangar in a spaceport to rescue Alina Daru from a threat, leaving the troopers accompanying him far behind. Beings powerful in the Force, a midichlorian count estimated to be around 16,800 midichlorians per cell, surpassing even Mace Windu. Malgus was proficient in the application of telekinesis. Malgus could counter-push his opponents in midair while they would jump towards him and knock them out in the process. During the duel with Aaron, Malgus demonstrated this ability to hurl objects as missiles towards his opponent, and could perform Force Grip and Force Crush on his enemies. On Alderaan, a Zabrak Jedi used the Force to collapse 2 buildings on Malgus in an attempt to kill him. Malgus stood under the mountain of rubble composed of building parts made of durocrate and steel, preventing it from crushing him beneath with the Force. Malgus controlled his anger and sharpened his power. He blew the rubble up and away from him, sending it crashing in adjacent buildings. Malgus also performed Force Wave when he attempted to disperse a large crowd gathered outside a medical facility in Coruscant to check on Daru. The blast shoved anything away from him in all directions, and bodies slammed into each other, breaking walls and windows. The nearby transport lurched, and all the doors of the medical facility broke loose and fell to the ground. On Alderaan, Malgus also faced Jedi Master Satele Shan, his pure rival, in single combat, and tolerated heavy firepower and force powers from his opponents, which shattered large objects around him. He was seriously injured, but he survived and felt no pain. Malgus had also concealed his presence within the Force. Intriguingly, a Jedi in Alderaan utilized his ability to possess his Force signature when he planned to ambush Malgus, but it was ineffective against him. Malgus still managed to sense his presence and foiled his plans. Malgus was so strong on the Force that in the end, in the Old Republic's latest expansion editions, it took various Force users at one time to immobilize him on Elon. Now that we have properly deduced Darth Malgus's amazing and nigh unstoppable powers in the Force, let us truly decide who is the more powerful, and let's search, starting off with the Jedi Master, now Sith Lord, Count Dooku,
a man
and exceptional,
his
unrivaled power that was exemplified by his Sith aliases of Tyrannus. Dooku was a highly skilled lightsaber duelist even in his old age. During his tenure as a Jedi Master, he was known as one of the Order's finest and most experienced swordsmen. It was said that Yoda was his only superior by Revenge of the Sith, and that Mace Windu was his only equal in the art. On Geonosis, Dooku was able to fairly effortlessly defeat and best both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, one immediately after the other. Though he noted Anakin's dueling skills the second time they dueled were considering and progressing immensely, and then go on to fight Yoda himself. Dooku was able to contend with Yoda, but elected to retreat when he was unable to best his former master in the opening stages of the duel. He would often prove to be the equal and even superior to Skywalker and Kenobi, even as their skill evolved during the Clone Wars, and his skill decayed due to his old age. Dueling Skywalker on several occasions, proving to be his superior, merely toying with him, until Skywalker was powerful enough to eventually overcome the Count. It is revealed in the EU Legends continuity that Palpatine told Dooku to take it easy on Anakin throughout the Clone Wars, meaning the Dooku that we see the entirety of the time all across the Clone Wars TV show Attack of the Clones, until the final stages of Revenge of the Sith and their duel aboard the Invisible Hand, was merely taking it easy on Anakin, and he only died because he realized he had made a mistake and gone easy on him in that last duel, and he was at a stage in the duel where he could not go easy anymore. Among the most skilled swordsmen the galaxy had ever seen, Dooku was a practitioner of the second form of lightsaber combat, Makashi. Makashi was designed specifically for lightsaber-to-lightsaber duels, and was rendered useless and was considered obsolete in the High Republic, when Jedi were most likely to face a battalion of blaster-wielding mercenaries and opponents. The star's rarity gave Dooku an unusual advantage when engaging in lightsaber confrontations, as few of his enemies were seasonally trained to defend themselves against it. Makashi relied on the utmost precision, swiftness, economy of movement, grace, and elegance that matched Dooku's stature as a Serenian noble. Dooku's curved hilt lightsaber was designed especially for this. Dooku mastered Makashi to such a degree he was considered the finest practitioner of the form ever, essentially becoming the Obi-Wan Kenobi for his own lightsaber form. He was also capable of effectively making up for his many weaknesses, with his weaknesses primarily being the fact he was weak against multiple lightsaber-wielding opponents and was able to compensate for his lack of use against blaster-wielding foes. In addition to his formidable, nigh unopposed lightsaber skills, Dooku was also very knowledgeable and skilled in the use of the Force, despite having a relatively low midichlorian count for the Jedi High Council, considered to be roughly around 14,000, 2,000 less than Malgus, who I mentioned prior. He demonstrated exceptional prowess and strength in the field of telekinesis during his duels with Asajj Ventress and his escape from Hondo's pirates. He displayed a prowess skill at using telekinesis in finer, more precise tasks, such as disarming Ventress like his teacher Yoda did in Season 1, Episode 1 of the Clone Wars, while also levitating her against the wall during her failed attempt to assassinate him with Savage Opress. He was even able to telekinetically manipulating people's motor skills, such as when he force choked while simultaneously forcing Turk Falso to take out his blaster and shoot his comrade, proving he could accomplish multiple force tasks at once. Dooku clearly proved to be the superior to Darth Maul, Palpatine's former apprentice, who was stated in the Clone Wars to be more powerful than Kenobi at that time, while he performed a similar feat when he made Padme Amidala aim and shoot at Beck Lois against her better judgment. Dooku was also highly skilled in the use of Force lightning, although in the movies and in the continuity, he was one of the weakest practitioners of the ability, as he only specialized in the blue variation, using it as both a means of torture and execution, and was able to use it in conjunction with telekinesis, usually to send a person flying with his lightning, or to even levitate his opponents while using his lightning on them, like he did against Anakin Skywalker and Savage Opress, as he demonstrated on Ventress and 2 other Night Sister assassins, and a battalion of clone troopers multiple times. While Dooku was powerful in the usage of Force lightning, his usage of it cannot even compare to Malgus. Malgus' Force lightning mastery was among the greatest the galaxy had ever seen, and like I stated, he was considered to be third and only inferior in the ability of Force lightning to Vitiate and Darth Revan at the time. Vitiate and Darth Revan, however, are both titans of the Force, and 2 of the most powerful practitioners of this ability ever instilled into their respective orders. So, in the end, who do I truly believe is more powerful? The Serenian noble Count with his tenure as a Jedi, or the powerful, strong, formidable Sith Warrior that is Darth Malgus, my favourite character in all of Star Wars? Warning, this answer will not be biased. So, I would like to present an analyzation of this video before I actually inform you of what my answer is. Starting off, I would like to inform you that Count Dooku is the superior in lightsaber combat, despite the fact that I think Malgus is among the top 10 best lightsaber duelists that ever lived, and even is superior to Palpatine in the art in terms of raw skill. I just cannot ignore the fact that Dooku's saber skills were considered to be superior or equal to Mace Windu and only inferior to Yoda. He was even stated to be able to disarm Darth Sidious, one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time, in a lightsaber duel, and made Sidious fearful and scared at his own lightsaber capabilities compared to his apprentice in Dooku's. Malgus' skill with a lightsaber, while formidable, ultimately is the perfect matchup in this match, since we will be taking Dooku in Attack of the Clones, his essential prime, and Malgus from the most recent Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic game adaptations. We shall be seeing that Dooku has the dark side, and Malgus is the most experienced and talented he has ever been. So, with these facts laid out, who's the better lightsaber combatant? Like I stated before, I believe it is Dooku, but I have to give the edge to Malgus as well. While I believe Dooku is a better duelist overall, due to Dooku's advanced age in Attack of the Clones of 79 years old, having been born in 102 BBY, over a century before the Battle of Yavin, and nearly a century before his death. Count Dooku's Makashi mastery allowed him to outduel nearly any opponent, including Mace Windu twice, and was able to duel with Yoda to a standstill. Despite this, Malgus' overwhelming physical strength that he employed in his lightsaber combatancy and altercations would ultimately prove to be the one thing that would let Dooku down. Dooku's old age meant that the Gemso was his weakness, and due to the fact Malgus was one of the finest practitioners of the form ever, I have to give this category to Malgus, although I do believe that overall Dooku is a better duelist. I just cannot ignore the fact that Malgus' Gemso mastery, considered to be one of the greatest in all of history, could not defeat Dooku's Makashi, which failed to generate kinetic energy and failed to generate momentum, which the Gemso specialized in. Also, due to Dooku's age, Malgus could quite easily launch a series of power strikes that could overwhelm Dooku, landing in possibly a swift strike that could wound the Jedi Master. There was also one point where Dooku was a Sith Lord, not a Jedi Master, and after he had rebelled against the Order, where he actually utilized his lightsaber in a more clumsy motion, actually shearing a portion of his skin off with his lightsaber blade during his duel aboard the Invisible Hand, as we can see portrayed in the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Now let's move on to Force abilities. Personally, I also have to give this to Malgus. Malgus, who was an anti-hero essentially, not good but not bad, was capable of utilizing Force lightning in a plethora of ways. He was considered one of the greatest practitioners of the ability ever. Along with this, he could use Force augmentation to essentially fight forever, use telekinesis, and I highly believe that Malgus could effortlessly employ Force Maelstrom to defeat Dooku. So, with all these facts laid out on the table and our cards settled, I give you the ultimate victor is Darth Malgus. And I'd say that Darth Malgus was 9 times out of 10. The only way I could see Dooku possibly employing a tactic that could defeat Malgus is if he was capable of shearing through his armor, possibly getting lucky with one of his lightsaber strikes, or if Malgus got tunnel vision, or if Dooku utilized the Force to implement it into his surroundings and best Malgus. Other than that, there is no feasible way I can see the Count of Sereno, in his advanced age, despite being at his prime, defeating Darth Malgus in a lightsaber duel. Well, my friends, what did you think of this video? Do you agree with my pick and selection? And do you think that Darth Malgus is more powerful than Count Dooku, or the other way around? Be sure to share your opinions in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in a galaxy far, far away.